What's up, guys? So today what we're going to talk about is the 5 biggest mistakes you're making with fat loss that you don't even know you're making. Okay. Now, this comes up from having a ton of conversations with people who are interested in getting coaching. And if you guys don't know, anytime that somebody's interested in doing coaching, the first thing that I always do is I always just set up a call just to talk to them, just to have a conversation with them, to hear, what their problems are, what their struggles are, what their goals are, things like that. So I can give them some feedback on what it's going to take for them to get, to achieve their goals. And it's not so much of a sales call. It's more of just, hey, look, you're having a conversation with the professional who's been doing this for 22 years. Here is my professional feedback on where, what's going on and how you need to, in a sense, fix your problems, right? So that's where a lot of this stuff is coming from. And plus all of the conversations that I've been having, there's been a lot of people in this community who have been reaching out to me, asking me questions, doing different things like that. And so it just felt like it was time to have this session on the 5 biggest mistakes that you're making that you don't even know you're making. Okay. All right. So before we go into it, let's just get some of the obvious answers out of the way. Okay. So the obvious answers are you're not following the right workout plan. You're not following the right nutrition plan, and you're not consistent. Okay. Those are the obvious answers. Okay. So let's wipe those out. Yes, I already know if you're not getting results, yes, you're probably not following the right nutrition plan. You're probably not following the right workout plan, and you're probably not consistent if you are following the right ones. Okay. So we're going to throw those out. We're not even going to talk about those. Those are obvious answers. Okay. So almost every single person can probably relate to this if you're not getting to where you want to be, especially if you're not a client of iFM coaching. Okay. All right. So let's start off with number 5 of the 5 fat loss mistakes you're making that you don't even know you're making. So number 1, or I'm going to start with number 5. Okay. We're going to go 5 all the way to number 1. Okay. So at 5, it's changing the philosophy of your program too often / not knowing the philosophy of your program / not knowing what philosophy is right for you, like what your personal philosophy is. So really just being oblivious to your own personal philosophy, changing the philosophy of your program way too often, and then also just not even knowing, not even being aware of what the philosophy is of the program. Okay. So it's a lot kind of packed into one, but it all comes down to philosophy, right? So I'll get a lot of people who will say, oh, I followed keto for 60 days and, it wasn't right for me. It wasn't sustainable. So I did Whole30 and I did that for a little bit. And then I started following some influencer workout and I started doing that. And literally every month, every couple months, they're changing plans and they're literally changing philosophies nonstop. Okay. So that's a big mistake that I see people make all the time. And when it comes to the workouts, I'll see people go, okay, well, I'm going to try HIIT workouts for a month or 2. And then I'm going to try just doing straight weight training for a month or 2. And then I'm going to do cardio for a month or 2. Or they'll start doing class. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to do this. And they're just nonstop, right, with changing what they're doing and never really allowing a chance for whatever philosophy they're following to actually work, because A, they're not following it long enough, and B, they're not being consistent enough. So they're just changing it way too often, right? Or a lot of times I'll hear people say, oh, I'm looking for a program that works for me. That's why I'm trying so many. And I'll tell you this, true story. There is not a program out there that works for you. Okay. There's no such thing as a program that just works for you. Every single program has to be modified to you, has to be modified to your habits, has to be modified to your goals, has to be modified to your lifestyle. So there's not a program out there that works for you because it has to be modified. Whenever I create a program for somebody, I'm not creating a program based on what I think they should follow. I'm looking at, okay, where are you? What's your starting point? What's going on here? What are the things you like? What are the things you don't like? What are the things you're more likely to stay consistent with? And I build it from you out versus the other way. I don't say, hey, you got to adapt to me. No, I'm doing a lot of adapting to you. And you, of course, you're going to have to adapt to science a little bit, right? But there's no program out there that just works for you. Everything has to be modified to you. So if you're on the search of looking for a program that works for you, you're going to be searching forever, because It's the modification process is really where the gold is. Okay. So number 5, just changing your philosophy way too often, trying different programs every 30 days, not getting anywhere, or you don't even know you don't even know that there's a philosophy at all. And you aren't self-aware of what your own personal philosophy is. Okay. So that's number 5. Okay. Number 4, you think too much. Okay. And you can even put in there, you make decisions based on what you think and what you feel. Okay. And you're not actually making decisions based on facts. So if you're saying this all the time, I think I'm not getting results, or I think that the plan isn't working, or I feel like this program isn't working for me, or, I'm never going to get results. I think I'm never going to get there, or it's just too hard. Okay. I should be getting these results that I'm not. Okay. If you are making your decisions based on what you think and what you feel and not based on factual data, you're thinking way too much. Okay. Now, this is a problem that a lot of my clients who just start with me, this is the problem that they have, is they think too much. They think too much. They're too hard on themselves. They're analyzing their habits on a daily basis, on a minute basis, and they're beating themselves up to a pulp where they can't even continue after 30 days because they're too busy thinking, going on in what's in their head. Okay. Now, I'm not saying all my clients quit in 30 days, but usually the first 30 days is the toughest part for people that are thinking too much, that live based on how they think and feel, make decisions based on how they think and feel. Okay. Now, there's a time and place for your thoughts and your feelings. Okay. But most of the time, if you're judging your success based on how you think and you feel, and you're not doing it based on factual data, you're probably going to be quitting and starting again, quitting and starting again, quitting and starting again, because either you're going to be too hard on yourself, you're going to talk yourself out of something that is working, or you're not going to understand what you really need because you're just too much in your head and you're just running in circles. Okay. So that's number 4. You're thinking too much. You're relying too much on your feelings and your thoughts, and you're not basing it on factual data. Okay. Which leads me to number 3. Okay. And number 3 is, what is the factual data? What factual data should you have? Okay. So number 3 is really not tracking your progress at all, or not tracking the right metrics. Okay. Now, everybody can probably agree that there is one metric that most people track, and that's their weight. Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is the absolute wrong metric. Now, if you're 250, 300 pounds, and you're, really overweight and really obese, then yes, we need to look at your weight and we need to consider that. And that is very important. Okay. But if you're less than 200, if you're 180, if you're a 5'10" male who's 200 pounds and your goal is to get to 180, we don't care about your weight. Okay. We don't care if you're a female and you're 150 pounds and you're trying to get to 120, yeah, weight matters a little bit, but weight really doesn't matter that much. In fact, with all of my clients, all of them, okay, we do not use weight as a metric that we look at and we assess and we analyze and we make decisions based off of. Okay. So if all you're doing is tracking your weight, okay, then you're probably going to be very, very upset with where you go. Okay. Now, if you've been on these sessions before, you know that your weight is not a great way to do it, because a great way to track your progress. Okay. It's not a great way at all, because you can lose fat and you can gain muscle and your weight may stay exactly the same, but you feel like you're not getting anywhere because your weight isn't changing. Okay. So most people, A, they don't track their progress, or B, they don't even know the right metrics to track. Okay. That is a huge, huge problem. I'll tell you this, that I cannot make any changes to anybody's program. Okay. I cannot make any changes to a meal plan, to a workout plan, or give really good feedback unless I see the metrics. And there are certain metrics that everybody should be tracking. If you're not tracking these metrics, it's a matter of time before you run into the ground. Okay. It's a matter of time before you fall down. Okay. So some metrics that everybody should be tracking is their body fat percentage, how many pounds of fat mass they have on their body, how many pounds of lean body mass they have, their circumference measurements of their shoulders, their waist, their hips, their thigh, their calf, their arms. Okay. Track the execution rate of each meal. Okay, that's an extremely important metric that I use. The execution rate of each meal. Track the execution rate of each snack that you have if you have snacks in your program. And then you can also do things like tracking your calories or your macros if you're in that realm. I would say 99% of my clients are not having to track their calories or their macros. So if you're one of my clients and you're listening to this right now, you're not doing that on purpose. Okay, there's a time and a place for it. I think I have one person of all the clients that I have that they're actually tracking their calories or their macros, and it's actually their macros. Okay, so you can track that. You can track your moods, right? That's one of the other metrics that you can track. Okay, the more metrics that you have to track, the more understanding you have of what's really going on. Okay, I tell a very classic story. In fact, on YouTube, there is a clip that I was doing a seminar at a corporation here in downtown Houston. And I talked about this young lady who came to see me, and she wanted to lose muscle, gain fat. She wanted to gain muscle and lose fat. Okay, she wanted to do that. And so I explained to her how she needed to do it, put it on a program or whatever. And I told her that in about 30 days, 4 to 6 weeks, she was going to freak out because things were going to start happening and she wasn't going to understand what was really going on. Okay. And so what ended up happening was she freaked out, whatever. She came in, I measured her, and what ended up happening is she gained 2 pounds on the scale. Now, she had been working her butt off, okay, for the last 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was. And she gained 2 pounds on the scale and she was freaking out. Okay. But what happened is she lost 4 pounds of fat, which is amazing to do in 4 to 5 weeks. She lost 4 pounds of fat, which is fantastic. That's what we all want to do. And she gained 6 pounds of muscle because she was lifting weights for the first time in her life. And she put on muscle really, really fast. Now, eventually it steadied out, but she put on muscle really fast. And that's why she had a 2 pound weight increase, because she lost 4 pounds of fat and gained 6 pounds of muscle. Okay. And so if we were only tracking weight, like she was only tracking weight and she freaked out, and this is normally when she would quit. This is normally when she would say, okay, I'm done. I'm gaining weight. This is not what I should be doing. Okay. But because I was tracking the metrics of how many pounds of fat she had on her body and how many pounds of muscle she had on her body, we could see that what was actually happening was she was losing 4 pounds of fat and gaining 6 pounds of muscle. And we were actually on the right track. But just both of those things happened in a 4 to 5 week time period simultaneously. And that's why those numbers were weird. Okay. And so once I broke it down to her, she was like, oh, that makes sense. So I lost 4 pounds of fat. I'm like, yeah, if I would have told you at the beginning, hey, in 4 weeks, you're going to lose 4 pounds of fat, would you be excited? And she's like, yeah. I said, okay, well, then that's what's happened. And, if I would have told you at the very beginning, hey, you're going to gain 6 pounds of muscle, would you be excited? She's like, yeah. I said, okay, well, both of those happened at the same time, coincidentally, which is why you have a 2 pound increase. Okay. So both of those things that you said you'd be excited about, those things just happened. Okay. So if you're only tracking your weight, you're not able to see those things, right? So that's why it's super important to track your body fat percentage. It's important to track your fat mass, your lean body mass. And I'll go an extra step. I mean, there's literally, I would say on a monthly basis, I'm probably tracking at least 15 different data points for each one of my clients, because I want to get a real thorough understanding of what's happening. Okay, so I'm gonna just stop it right here, and let's just kind of backtrack a little bit. So let's talk about the 5 biggest fat loss mistakes that you're making that you don't know. Number 1, changing your philosophy too often, not knowing what philosophy you're following, or not even understanding what philosophy you personally have and not exploring that. Okay, so that's number 5. Number 4, you're thinking too much. You're making too many decisions based on how you think and how you feel, and you're not doing it based on factual data. And then number 3, either you're not tracking your progress at all, or you're tracking the wrong metrics. Okay, so far, what can you relate to? Are you making any of these mistakes? Are you making, the philosophy mistake? Are you making the thinking too much and feeling too much and making your decisions based on that? Or are you making the mistake of not tracking or tracking the wrong metrics? Can I give you an example of program philosophies, or what is the iFit philosophy? Well, all right, so that's a great question. I'll give you an example of, let's just talk about food philosophy, okay? Let's just keep it real simple, okay? So are philosophies out there that you should be doing intermittent fasting. Okay, that is a philosophy. Okay, there are programs out there that say that you should cut out all of your carbs. Okay, like a keto type thing. Now you're getting carbs from vegetables and things like that, but you're doing very, very low amounts of carbs. Okay, that's a type of philosophy like keto. There are philosophies out there that that say that the food quality doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you're staying within your caloric range, or you're staying within your macro range, and it doesn't matter what you eat. Ice cream equals the same thing as, brown rice. The carbs in ice cream is the same as brown rice, right? So those types of philosophies out there as well. The iFM coaching philosophy when it comes to nutrition is really simple. Okay, eat the foods that your body can use, and reduce, and in some cases eliminate the foods that your body can't use. Okay, it's really that simple. Okay, and everybody's like, oh, that's so simple. Yeah, it's so simple, and that's really what we focus on, right? Because at the end of the day, every single person, their goals are going to be different. So we have to create what their philosophy is going to be. But at the end of the day, when it comes to food, as long as you're eating the foods that your body can use, it can use things to build muscle, or you're eating things that are actually going to starve your fat, then that's where we want to go, right? And we want to try to reduce the foods that your body can't use. You still need to enjoy your favorite foods in life, your pizza, your hamburgers, your French fries, and things like that. But we want to reduce it. We want to teach you how to do it and how often to do it. Okay, so that's a really good question. D-Ray says, my mistake is not tracking any metrics at all except weight. Yeah, man, that's a very common issue that a lot of people have, is only tracking their weight, and that's all they do. Okay. In some cases, I do have some people who are tracking their weight, their body fat, and their lean body mass. But that's all they're tracking. They're not tracking anything else, right? They're not tracking their happiness levels. They're not even comparing how good they're doing compared to where they were before they started, right? Or they're not tracking their circumference measurements, or they're not looking at anything else, right? I always look at photos, right? So I'm always looking at photos and doing different things. And so sometimes what happens is people will go, and let's just say that, their test on a daily basis is how they look in the mirror. And one day they go look at themselves in the mirror, and they look fat, they look gross, they look whatever they come up with, right? And they'll look at that, and no matter what the numbers say, no matter if the numbers indicate that they're on the right track or whatever, they'll get whatever they saw in the mirror and be like, no, that's it. I look terrible. I look horrible. This isn't working for me. I'll give you a great example of this. Okay. So about, 8 or 9 years ago, I was working with a client who wanted to do a fitness competition. Okay. Now she had worked out her whole life and whatever, and all of that good stuff. Okay. And so what ended up happening was we started training. We were training for about 6 months to get her ready for this fitness competition. And then 8 weeks out from her show, in fact, this might have been 10, 15 years ago. It was a long time ago. So 8 weeks out from her show, we took photos, right? Because we do our photos every month, but we took her photos 8 weeks out from the show and did all her measurements and did all of that. And before I could even explain to her what the measurement said, she looked at her photos. She said, oh my God, I can never do a competition. I don't look like a competitor. I look awful. I'm horrendous. And literally walked out of my office, and I have never seen that person again. However, if she would have sat in my office and listened, she would have seen that since she started, she lost about 15 pounds of fat. I don't even know how many pounds of muscle she gained, but she could have been an absolute rock star because she progressed so much throughout the 6 months that we were working together. At this point, it's probably 4 or 5 months that we were working together, but she progressed so much from the very beginning. But all that mattered to her is that her photos didn't look like she was show ready, right? Which, if you're doing a show, you only look show ready the day you're doing a show, and that's the only day you ever look show ready. But she didn't look like she thought she needed to look, and none of the other metrics mattered. And she literally walked out of my office, and I promise you, I've never seen that lady again. she's gone forever. Okay. True story. So a lot of times we put way too much emphasis on one metric more than another. And that's why it's so important to look at all these different metrics and really figure out, what is the whole story of everything? Yeah. Okay. Maybe my weight didn't change. That may not be a bad thing, right? Or maybe my body fat percentage didn't change. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Let's look at your circumference measurements. Let's look at your clothes. Let's look at your, how much you've progressed. Let's look at your habits. Let's see what's going on there. So we got to get a big picture of what is happening. Okay. And it's not always just what's happening with your physical results. Sometimes your skin starts to clear up. Sometimes you have more energy. These are things that you can track. Okay. Let's keep it going. So we've already talked about those 3 mistakes that you're making. Let's go to number 2, oversimplifying their problem or oversimplifying the solution to their problem. Okay, man, I hear this all the time. Oh, Aaron, I just like motivation. I just need motivation. I'm not motivated, and I just need to get motivated, right? Or I just need to get consistent. That's really all it is. I know what to do. I just need to get consistent. Okay, I hear that all the time. Oh, I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. Okay, or hey, I just need to go do it. The problem is that I'm not doing it, and the solution is I just need to go do it. Okay, like it is so ridiculous to hear people saying this. Okay, and I'm telling you right now, it is ridiculous that you are oversimplifying your problem and oversimplifying your solution. Because if it was that simple, why are you not correcting it? Why is your behavior not changed? Because it's a lot more complex than I just need to get consistent, or I just need to quit eating bad food. That's my problem. My dinner is just bad. I just need to quit eating bad foods. Okay, or I just need to get my head right. My head's just not in a good place, or I need to have more discipline. Right? I hear this. I just need to do this. Like, oh, it's just so simple. I just need to have more discipline. Man, there are courses. Let's talk about self-discipline. There are courses out there that will charge you $1,000 to $10,000 to teach you how to have more self-discipline. Okay. If it was as simple as, hey, let me just have more self-discipline. If it was as easy as saying that, like we would all have self-discipline. Okay. So oversimplifying your problems and your solutions is a huge, huge, huge thing that I hear all the time. Okay. And so this is not just in health and nutrition. I mean, it's in jobs, it's in, whatever. I was talking to a business owner the other day, and we were talking, he's like, oh, I just need to get more people. I just need to get better people. That's all it is. Really? It's a lot harder. There's a strategy that you need to have. You have zero strategy, right? So how are you going to get more motivation? Do you even need it? How are you going to get more consistent? There is a strategy behind all of these things, and it's not just as simple as, oh, I just need to go do it. Okay, so that's number 2. That's might be one of my favorite ones. Okay, and the number 1 mistake that people are making when it comes to fat loss that they don't even know they're making, and they don't even see it as a problem, is not hiring a coach when you get stuck and when you've been stuck for years on end. Okay, now I'm going to speak very honestly and truthful. Now I'm supposed to say this because I'm a coach and I run a really good fitness company, but I'm going to tell you this. One of the biggest frustrations in the world is to hear somebody say, oh man, I've been trying to lose. No lie, true story. Okay. Last week I had a conversation with somebody who was interested in the program. Okay. I don't know. She was not very tall, but she was over 200 pounds. Okay. She had been over 200 pounds for 7 to 8 years. She had been trying to lose weight for 7 to 8 years. She was in the best shape of her life when she was 130 pounds. Okay. For 7 to 8 years, she had been trying to lose fat. She had been trying to lose weight, and she couldn't do it. And we had a 1-hour conversation about what her problems were. And you know what? She's like, I think I can do this on my own. And she didn't sign up. And I'm like, what the is wrong with you? Like, legitimately, like you have a guy here that knows inside and out what you need to do. And you told me on the phone, man, I've never talked to a fitness professional that knows this much and cares so much. And you thought you could do it on your own. You have 7 to 8 years of evidence that you can't do it on your own. Like, when is enough enough? When are you just going to say, look, I've been stuck. I can't do this. It's okay to say I can't do this with the knowledge that I have. This is why coaches exist. Excuse me getting riled up, but it's the truth. If you have been stuck for at least 6 months, that's when you really need to start considering maybe I need to get a coach. Okay. If you're not improving in 6 months of trying, okay, maybe you need to think about it. If you have been thinking for 6 months, but you haven't done anything, maybe it's time you start to consider it. But once you start going into years of not making changes, once you start going into years of trying and not making changes, okay, once you go into years of doing that, at what point do you say, man, I just need to hire somebody who does this for a living to help me? Okay. I was stuck in my business for a really long time. Okay. And I hired a business coach, and it was one of the greatest things I could have ever done. Dennis, if you're watching, thank you, man. You changed my life. Okay. Look, I've gone to college, got my education, got my degree, did all kinds of stuff, took all kinds of business courses. But you know what? I needed help because what I was doing wasn't translating into what I really wanted to accomplish. I hired a coach. I got help. And I still work with that coach to this day. Okay. So at what point do you say, hey, I need to do this? And truthfully, that is the number one mistake that I hear. I literally have at least 5 conversations a week with people who have been trying for a year plus and they won't hire a coach. I'm gonna give you a good story. I'll give you a positive story. Okay. We got Yvonne. She's on right now. And I'm going to tell your story, Yvonne. Yvonne, for years and years and years and years and years, had been trying to get results, had been trying to do this. She'd be up and down. She'd do different things. And she came, she's finally said, you know what, Aaron, you know what you're doing. I can see it with your clients. Let's do it. And we did it. And I don't know, it was 4 or 5 months or something. And boom, Yvonne got the results that she had been trying for all of this time. She had been trying for years. And in 4 to 5 months, we were able to get her to a place where she was comfortable with her body. She was comfortable with the results. She was comfortable with her food, and she felt amazing. And she had been trying for years. Okay. I think I've gone on long enough, guys. I want to hear from you. Go ahead and comment below. Tell me, what are some mistakes that you've been making, and how can I help you avoid some of those mistakes? What questions do you have for me? Go ahead and comment below. Like always, guys, if you need any help, if you just want to have a conversation with me about what's going on with you, just go to ifmcoaching.online and sign up to get in some information, and we'll schedule a call and we'll talk about what's going on with you and how you can achieve your goals. If you want to send me a private message and you feel that's a little bit better for you, go ahead and send me a direct message. Tell me what's going on. But I think that's going to wrap up today's session, guys. It's been awesome. I will see y'all next time.